Listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're here at Answers from the Universe, the Andronicus Transmissions. And, well, we have, an interesting show, and I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone, and also thank you for the many people that sent me birthday wishes. You're so awesome. It felt really nice. I was, overwhelmed. People that I never really talked to sending messages. It's sweet. It's very kind. And I encourage people to do that to everybody, because it's a nice feeling knowing that people care and they're thinking about you a bit. I had a really, really, wonderful day yesterday, JP.
Oh, great. So, happy birthday from me and, from all the characters.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I should go, happy birthday.
Happy
Rhodan.
birthday, flower.
Andronicus, no?
Well, Andronicus is me.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
You didn't say from Gary.
Oh, one from Gary. One moment.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
So I had a wonderful day. I went out. My son took me to get Indian food, and many accolades and gratitude to Shiva, who's always there supporting us, and beautiful conversations about different things, and later on we went to see the Star Wars movie. So couldn't be happier. It was kind of an awesome day, and simple but awesome, but that's usually the way it is. So, we had a lot of fun, and I won't be a spoiler and talk about too much about the movie. I would recommend going to see it. It was one of the better Star Wars movie. And I said Star Trek earlier, I think. It was Star Wars. And it was a lot of fun, and interesting twists and turns with Star Wars, but it's always, in a cycle of the next battle and this and that. So, intriguing. One point in the movie, I will bring up one point where the main character, I believe she's the daughter of Han Solo, she goes into the dark space and is standing there and sees herself. It almost looks like from the past, her aspects from the past going all the way into the future, and just, essentially it's like a mirror of her. So she snaps her finger, and it starts off in the past and then goes through to the present and then goes on into the future. And it's kind of, showing people timelines in a way, kind of showing how things are sort of working. And, also, a point where, there's a dimensional battle, where there's a battle, fought, or a kind of a thing that happens between Darth Vader's son and I always keep on forgetting the main character there. Who's the great warrior?
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yoda?
No. Luke.
All right, Skywalker, yeah.
Luke Skywalker gets into a battle without being there. So, people talk about doing other dimensional work. This is it. You can't be any more clear about it. It's just laid out right there, and people need, if you go and watch, you're going to see what actually happens.
So, Jess, as a psychic medium, when you said she snapped her fingers and she saw all of the timelines, is that similar to the view that you get?
Yeah, you can. You can actually see yourself, earlier in time. It doesn't actually play out that way, but it's kind of symbolic of the echo of what's going on. And also parallels work in the same way where, a person comes to me and they have some kind of issue, like a health issue. And so sometimes, in order to assess the health issue, not everything is happening and occurring here. Everything's, happening within us. From another time space sometimes. For example, you can get sick, or you can have some kind of unexplained, pain or whatever. And I've been able to help people resolve it by looking at their past lives. and finding the lifetime where that issue actually was prevalent. You might have had like some kind of serious injury or died in a certain way, and then it's manifesting, and I'll say, well, are you having any problems like with this leg or something? And they'll say, yeah, actually I am. Well, that's what just came up in a past life. And from there you can actually, allow a healing to come through. Another thing is, if you can't locate it from a past life, then because I could see into other dimensions, I can see another dimensional space where you exist, and there's a problem. We resolve that problem. And sometimes maybe conflicts or feeling stuck. A lot of people get that feeling of being stuck. It's usually, from my experience, a lot of times it's other dimensional. And you resolve the other dimensional space, and then they're able to move forward. So, it does sort of work that way. So there's multiple things happening with our soul at one time. And so identifying where these spaces are that are causing the problem, or people say, I can't move forward, I can't figure things out. Why am I having this pain? Why am I having this problem? Why is it that I can't move, I can't get a job, or, there's something else going on in your space that's keeping you in a locked-in reality. So that kind of thing needs to be figured out. And once you do, it's very liberating. But yes, that's how it works. I use it for healing and helping people find out when I do private sessions with them. In particular, I can hone in onto their soul and their multi aspects of where it exists. That's why these abilities emerge is to always remember to use those abilities to help people, not to harm anyone. And you make a commitment to do it, to use it for that purpose. But yeah, so that's how it works for me.
Interesting. I remember Sean David Morton talking about this thing he called the Tibetan whip, which involves it's a very intimate touch. One is you have to touch, the healer touches the roof of the patient's mouth and the perineum, which is like very intimate place. And there's a kind of flicking thing, and then suddenly it flicks out all this, all the timelines, and you can see them all stretched out before you. So it sounds a similar sort of thing, but it's a bit of an extreme way of getting there.
I have to look into that, but I don't really have to do any process. It's sort of just, I just
Thankfully.
have to look. Yeah, I just have to look and see. Yeah.
Excuse me, can I just... No.
Yeah, no. You end up in jail. You get in a lot of trouble for something like that. Yeah.
So, it's okay in Tibet, but here in Boston.
Yeah, here in Boston, so many things are coming up. And speaking of Boston, boy, I stumbled on something. I did an interview with Peter, the Insider, and James on James Rink Show, and it should be coming out soon. It's very revealing, some of the stuff that came up. I mean, probably you can see the surprise look on my face. I'm like, what? I couldn't believe some of the things that were happening. And one of the things that Peter mentioned is that I was a part of this. A lot of the video games, all of the video games are actually based on something. I mean, the primary ones, like Quantum Break, those things are actually happening, and that's a type of disclosure. And
yes, there's a one called Call of Duty, which I remember back in 2010. They brought out a game called Black Ops, which is like the first time that phrase came into the mainstream, the phrase Black Ops and what it means. So,
right.
Actually, one of my first ever Beyond programs was with a fellow called Brian. Oh God, Brian. It's a long word. It's like it's a bit like Nostradamus. But I forgot. It'll come back to me. Anyway, he was a gamer. He wrote games in Montreal. Indeed, there was somebody upstairs in a few floors above who has the same name as me, Jeremy Perron. Except he was a French Canadian, Jeremy Perron. So anyway, we did a show discussing that very thing, the disclosure within the gaming industry, which has been going on, as I say, since 2010, at least since 2010. So, that's where, if you want to see, you will see where disclosure is happening. That's where it is. And that's where Peter's in that zone, isn't he? He's always talking about the video games and things like that.
Yeah. Well, he's talking about how they're trying to release the information. And there's clearly a lot of resistance to releasing the information. It seems to be one way to do it. And they seem to be effective. The problem is a lot of the people don't recognize it as disclosure. I don't know if it's considered soft disclosure, but it is revealing, some of these things that are happening in other realities that are relating to us. So during this interview, I'm not going to say, obviously I won't be able to say everything that was said, but I mentioned a statement of something that happened to me, and I had a clear memory of it, and they said, these ETs that abducted me at this one point says, this one we have to watch because this one is going to remember. And it triggered Peter, and he said, I know who you are. You're in that game Fallout 4. So of course I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Because I'm not a gamer, so then I had to go through and watch this video game, and I learned an awful lot. And it turns out that Fallout 4 takes place in Boston. So they were talking about the Commonwealth. They talked about Lexington and Concord, which my aunt lived in Concord. The town that I grew up in is Belmont, which is very close to that whole area, very close. They also talk about the institution, which I believe was MIT. And I believe they mentioned Harvard. And, it's just that whole inner city area. And I think they mentioned Charlestown. A bunch of, a few different areas in the place. And then they go up north to a place in which I believe is Maine, into an island up there. And I'm like, wow, this, he said, and he wasn't even thinking about my region, but he just told me to look this up, and I'm watching the whole thing. I'm like, there it is, but it's a future event. And it's all about like this nuclear disaster that occurs, and the people go underground. And the guy that they call Father, the primary guy, because there's this guy that was in cryonics, so it starts off with the husband and wife, and then they have a baby, and the wife, they go into this vault to be saved, and to bring them into a state of freezing so they can go into the future. And the woman is in the vault, and they open up the vault and they take the infant from her, and she rebels and they kill her. And I believe that was supposed to be me.
Oh, not a good start.
Not a good start. So I'm essentially out of the storyline in the beginning, and then across from me is the husband that watches witnesses the whole thing, comes out, and then later on, is looking for his son, Sean. And Sean ends up being, like, he was in cryonic state for many years. So by the time he comes out and finds his son is actually 60 years old, and he's no longer calling himself Sean but Father, because he's a part of this institute. And I'm like, doesn't this seem a bit like John? And I'm just looking at the whole thing, saying that this was really weird. It was just kind of a weird experience. I'm not sure, but it made me think, because everyone knows I've been communicating with John, and I actually have a message from John, and he did say something to me. It showed me something today that made me even further agree or consider that this was him. Maybe not all the details are accurate, but kind of basis of the storyline. Now, John is father, or Sean in the story, is creating these synthetic beings. They call them synths, and so it's really kind of weird. So I was like, I haven't really discussed this with John about the synths and what he was thinking in creating these things, but it seemed like humanity was really highly affected by this issue, and it's supposed to be, in the future. So, and we've talked about, how that there are potentials of things happening in the future, but I think he is helping us to make an effort to remove ourselves from that reality. So we have a message from John today, and as I said, I'd probably recommend that you listen to the interview with Peter and James, because I had some visions of beings that were different things that James had experienced, and he was getting some validation from Peter. And so I think the information is helpful for people to understand some of the things that have happened. And I know that a lot of people that listen to these programs are concerned about abductions and so forth. So kind of getting an idea of other things that can and have happened in the past. So anyhow, that's that. And
that's that. And before we move on, the show that I was talking about with Brian Internosia. It's a very unusual name. And it's from 2010, and it's actually on my Blog Talk radio channel, Ever Beyond. And it's from 28th of October. So that's that one. And then what is the YouTube channel for James Rink interviews?
I believe it's Super Soldier Talk.
Okay, Super Soldier Talk, people. Remember, this is Studio 9 Jam, to Studio. And so, shall we move into tonight's readings?
Sure. And I also want to mention too, JP, that maybe, some of your interviews probably early on were right on the money. They were probably pretty timely. And, maybe you should play some of those old shows every now and then.
That's a thought.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll play one tonight. I have a 2-hour space to play in the next, after this show. So, maybe I'll have a quick look. I think it was back in the days. Do you remember Blog Talk Radio? Did you ever do that?
Yes, I did. For a short period of time, I did.
Uh-huh. Well, that's where Wolf Spirit Radio. I mean, we met a lot of our show hosts on Blog Talk, and then we all moved on to like what I would call proper radio, like this.
Yeah. Well, it's just you have a producer and so forth, whereas you're producing your own show usually. But it's a much better format, I will say.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot easier, more enjoyable too. I really enjoy this format much better.
Indeed. And, this is like a much better, audio quality. The, Blog Talk is very scratchy because everybody's calling on telephones, so this is a lot more pleasant sounding for people.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to tell everyone too that we have, a fun guest today, I believe. It's Brian Sundholm and Melinda, I believe, are joining us on the second hour. And I mean, we're going to have, it's going to be kind of intense a little bit. Some of the information is kind of critical. It's coming through from Rhodan, from John. And we have even some information from Meetis, trying to figure out what's going on there. But it gets a lot lighter in the second hour. So, to kind of just follow me down this path. Some of the information has to come up. It's really important, and it's good for us to be informed. But then it's good to kind of have a little bit of laughter and levity, and so you can lift our spirits a little bit, and kind of helps you get through the whole process of everything. Okay, so who to start with?
Where do we start?
Oh goodness. All right. We have another visit from the land of wizards, and that was kind of weird. Now, they were speaking a language there. Mm-hmm. And we'll get to that. Maybe we'll go right into, let's go to Rhodan first, okay. And then we'll address the land of the wizards. I observed Rhodan on a spacecraft, and he was in a meeting with the Triforce conglomerate in Orion. I began to listen in to the conversation.
Our discussions go deeper than emotions can convey. The liberations and freedoms that we are feeling have eclipsed some of the pain and tragedy of many of our allies, some of which can be retrieved from forced prison camps on galactic bases established by our adversaries. We are grateful for your assistance and to help us to locate and communicate through sound barriers and other shells of resistance. Our discovery of the leeching of life force from our members brought great distress and concern amongst all of us. Some of us could hear the cries, sorrow and distress calls of the innocent. With your assistance, we have scaled new heights and have rescued 14 legions of our warriors. We have returned 8 bases that held human life. Unfortunately, many of them must incarnate to retain the soul integrity that is untainted from fear and trauma imposed upon them by violent species composed of grey matter. We have discovered many programs and chips that were perpetuating these activities. The artificial intelligence created long ago that looped throughout our universe was then further replicated and additional negative sequencing programs were introduced. I stand for you today to be a witness of the destruction of the programs that we have thus discovered and are brought to termination once and for all. I have not disclosed how many programs are within the core of these programs. We have yet to discover the length, breadth and height of their reach. We're unclear as to whether, length and breadth and height of their reach. We're unclear as to whether or not this AI has infected the multiverse as well. This is something we will find out soon. Regarding human condition, they will need to recover from variations of post-traumatic stress and illness. For other species, they might need an additional chance to be observed and see if the negative influence of the programming, once removed, will allow these species to restore to a normal balance. The infection of the AI had created a tremendous amount of confusion in our galaxy. Those who once our ally had been contaminated and turned in a very bad way. There are at least 4 groups of species who we may consider to send back in time and reset them prior to the AI infection. Because of the uniqueness of gathering this data and these devices and implants, we have prevented new races from entering fully into Earth's atmosphere, despite their good intentions. We have halted all of our galactic members from new interactions until we got a better handle on the influence of these devices. It has been a struggle. Many had rebelled us and didn't hear our advice. There was a considerable amount of unnecessary turmoil and disillusionment. Now, I'm not committing that this will end all wars, but I will say that the creators of these programs will no longer have a voice and will be shut down forever. Observe now as I destroy the mainframe of each one. It will be seamless. There is no need to be concerned about anything exploding. It will all just turn to dust and their cords of resistance will blow away into infinity. Infinitum.
Infinitum.
Infinitum, all right.
Then I saw a power surge right before the word infinitum was said and things turned back to normal again. So I literally got a power surge come out of the computer when this happened.
Oh, wow.
As soon as he said he was going to do it, I was like, I was there at that moment. Yeah, so...
Sorry, there's your power surge.
Yeah.
So, let's see if I can say that and do that as you know, there we go, hang on. I haven't got any more, yeah. Anyway, here we'll try. Observe now as I destroy the mainframe of each one. It will be seamless. There is no need to be concerned about anything exploding. It will all just turn to dust and their cords of resistance will blow away into infinitum. No, I missed the cue. Oh well, never mind. You get the point. I'm not that brilliant. Anyway, so that was quite interesting. So this is like him reporting to the council. Is that, you know, that's what I was picturing. The thing.
It's one of the councils that he interacts with, and clearly they have been instrumental in assisting. I think what they were doing is they were breaking through sound barriers that were obstructing some of these camps, these prison camps, and people were beings, the humans as well as other species that were trapped, that had been abducted and put in off-world camps. They were crying out for assistance. And this Triforce conglomerate worked with frequencies and were able to break through it. And so they had assisted Rhodan in some of the work, and so he was sort of like updating them and allowed me to go in there. It was interesting to be in that space for that moment. It felt very much like a council, but quite a few were there. But it's one of the many councils that he interacts with.
So it's not exactly the Orion Council, is it? Then?
The Orion Council. There were some negative factions with the Orion Council, I think. So this is the Triforce conglomerate who happens to be in Orion.
Right. So this is like the breakaway good guys of the old Orion Council, yeah?
Yeah, they were kind of the gentle, kind of more harmonious group.
Yeah.
But they had to go into the background because of the Orion Greys.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he has clearly been working with them privately and to assist in some of the process of gathering up some of this AI. I guess the AI came from the past, and then they started to replicate it and then add on more data and programming into it. He says that he didn't even know, he's unclear as to, how much it's affected everyone, including the multiverse. And he said that, even he doesn't know some of these species were so altered by this AI because they started implanting everyone with it. And you remember,
yeah.
Early on we had Kraton who, after not dealing with his own trauma, he decided, to connect all the Titans through war. And he used these black stones that he had kind of in the back of their necks. And it was like an earlier form of this programming where he was having them, obey him, in a military way. And but it wasn't just negative AI, but it was a reflection of his emotions. And this black stone was an aspect of himself when he got destroyed on an upper dimension. So it's almost like he, just recreated that trauma and used it as a communication device, but also carried some of his trauma with it. So this is where the Titans got in a bit of trouble in our history, and so that got resolved. But this AI, there's other species have done other things, and I think it was the Builders group, the rebel Builders group that created the AI, probably to control different species for different reasons, and then of course that got harnessed and then used and copied in technology, and then just like anything, the species start copying it and using things for the bad. So we had all sorts of AI issues, and others have complained about that. But anyhow, that's, yeah.
They're saying in the chat room, AI balls.
Yeah, essentially. Watching and humans, picked it up too, and it's bad enough all the other species have, and in any, it's usually those that lack in consciousness seem to say, hey, wow, great, now we can control others. I mean, it's just, trying to really break some of the power so that, it doesn't take a stronghold on everyone. I know that, they're talking about, how I was having a discussion with my son about, the iPhones, and how they have AI and everything in it. And, of course, that they don't always listen, but it's something that people need to become more and more aware of.
Yeah, I suppose in a way it's like us listening to our parents. You're saying, "Don't go out in the cold if you wear." It's like the same. Oh, you're just talking old wives' tales or new wives' tales. Like what is this? Different times and the same vibe. Oh, mum, you're just fussing and worrying about me, kind of thing. Anyway, that's the way of kill.
But it's the opposite game, right, JP? Isn't it the opposite? You have to say the opposite to get them to do what You don't. You don't
Reverse psychology. Yes, that's what.
Yes.
They-
I would say, you can do whatever you want. You know what he said to her? He goes, Mom, he goes, why did you let me do everything I wanted? I was like, what? I said, because I wanted you to make your own decision. Yeah, but you should have made so. I said, no, because then you'd be upset that I made that decision for you. And then what? And
Exactly.
it's just like,
Exactly.
It doesn't go anywhere. Either way, you're wrong, JP.
I
Doesn't
know.
matter.
This parenting is you have to end up as the bad guy. Yeah. Funny. Eh?
But it's fine.
So, meanwhile, back on the iBlog, where are we going next?
All right, we're going to go to John. We're going to go to John.
Hello,
I'm going to
John
dig right
Gordon
in.
Mout.
John, I see you in the fetal position. You seem to be naked and dirty.
It's from the upper atmosphere. The air is unclean and vile. The pungent smell makes me sick, and I can barely eat anything without wanting to vomit. I've told all my other aspects to eat less.
I know what you mean. I felt that way recently. I was picking up what you were feeling, or is it something else?
Oh, but you have something else. What you have is related to exposure of various atmospheres in your auric field. I told them not to allow the others to take you to various regions throughout the galaxy, particularly those with toxic matter. Maybe they did send you here. You were sick also.
Yes. It was a cutting headache and liquid metal in my auric field. Is it gone now?
Yeah, it seems to be gone.
What about you? Why are you so ill? Can you wash clean from that matter that's on your skin?
For those of us who have been exposed, it is a form of rotting of the skin. The black parts like frostbite or cancer. I believe your cancers are from the same radiations. No one realizes the horror in all of it. At least not enough. Or you would not allow so many nuclear parts to exist. It's a mess. There are much simpler ways to extract fuel from the atmosphere. The ones withholding this information will pay dearly, a perpetual suffering. We will shift the reality, and it's only them who will suffer. They don't realize we can do this. They need to let go of the energy sources and the ability to extract the energy naturally.
You wouldn't leave this place until I saw you and what your body looked like from the exposure. It reminded me of a documentary I saw of a man dying of AIDS. It is horrible.
Well, this is not an illness, but rather high exposure to a destructively altered atmosphere from a nuclear war. I needed to warn all of you. Now that you understand, I am moving through a portal to assist in changing this reality. There are still challenges, but not to this extreme. I just pulled you and the entire Earth through that reality and into a new one. You were tied to me, and I have you tied to the world.
I just discovered Chiron was holding on to me.
That is true, amongst many others whom you had set free. I refuse to help any who contributed to the wars on the planet. I'm glad you understand.
I agree. They are making everyone suffer for their insatiable desire for unending wars. Allow them to experience the result of it and set everyone else free from their madness.
It's either that or removal of the soul essence. They can learn or leave. We have all had enough of the war machines and corporations who want to poison and harm humanity with their atomic fission and nuclear waste.
Thank you, John. I want to thank you for your help. I'm glad to be here to help as well.
Tell everyone to hold on to their faith of existence. Don't ever let go, and follow the path of love. Yeah, that's pretty dark. So, are we all right now?
Yeah. He watched him go through. It was pretty interesting.
Ooh. Yeah, liquid metal in your auric field. What's that?
I was getting sick. I would, I was trying to help people out, and all of a sudden I felt like I was going to throw up. It felt like this like metallic energy around me, and I was like, well, wow, do I have like heavy metals? Do I need to do a cleanse or something? Or, what is going on here? It was just like, almost like I could taste it. I could feel it. It was in my field. When I looked at it, it looked like it was, liquid metal. And, I'm trying to remember because I did.
Were you in contact with people? Obviously, you're probably in physical contact with people who may have been vaccinated or something like that. It sounds like mercury.
It does sound like mercury, and I think it has something to do with some of the time travel stuff that I've been doing. The travel, wherever they've been taking me.
Maybe you've been aboard one of those dirty old TR-3BAs or something, that Peter talks about. It's like the old clunky ones might have some leaking mercury. Yeah, or even you're picking up the field of it.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was very weird. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't fully understand, but that was something like that. I know that there was, I wrote something else down and I'm looking for it. I'm like, where did I put that? Because when I start channeling, it just brings me to these other places. And, I don't know, it's very strange. John, the Land of the Wizards, and, But anyhow, so, well, maybe I can find that later. Let's see, who's next? Alright, so let's go to the Land of the Wizards. Now, there's some language in here that I think you have to roll your R's. I think it's supposed to be wizard language.
I have to put on the Ian McKellen. Bit of Ian McKellen here.
So maybe you pronounce it the way you would pronounce that kind of, I don't know, it's not Baylord, but it's maybe,
it sounds like
Celtic?
Middle Earth.
Celtic?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah, it has some rolled R's in it or something,
Oh, that's gonna be easy, isn't it? Anyway, go ahead. Yeah, Mr. I can't even pronounce my own name. Anyway, go ahead.
Alright, so, Land of the Wizards. I saw Bartholomew in the Land of the Wizards and observed as he peered out onto a vista where I could see a light source slightly peering through a mist. I wasn't quite sure if it was the sun or not. This place seemed to be off-world. He picked up a small plant that looked like a succulent with small leaves and highly edible. He took one leaf and savored the taste. Someone was standing next to him and he said,
Advar kilostovila. No, kilostiva. Oh God, listen to me now. Advar kilostiva.
Bartholomew then handed the plant to the man beside him, whom he called Celtic. The land that Bartholomew was looking at was called Druids.
These lands are rich and vibrant. I don't ever want to leave here, but the sacred moon is red. The sickness will come to us if we stay. We must travel to a place that has many of the comforts of our home to prevent a future rebellion amongst our people. They become greatly displeased if there are no forests and trees to cover them from the skies. They prefer not to be in open and barren land. It reminds them of a prison planet and the desolation that came with it. Kelte, do you see the tumbling of the trees in the upper quadrant? I see.
Kelty used a sharp object to cut the vegetable that was round and peach-colored on the inside and had beige skin on the outside.
That looks unnatural. The tremors on the planet have begun. Soon there will be upheavals and unexpected holes in the land that could swallow us deep into the ground. It is the red moon. The last time we experienced this, we lost a good part of our population. We have no other choice but to visit beyond time and dimension. Tua se toa, migsalan se fantaliet gochen.
Why is it that I can understand one of you but not the other?
You're just here to hear my side of a conversation. You're not allowed to hear what Kelte has to say.
It doesn't make any sense to me. How am I supposed to share this with people if I don't understand what's being said?
You're not supposed to understand what I say either. I must be in between worlds now.
Very well. I would like to listen if that's okay with you.
Only if you had good intention to share our information with those who have been longing to hear from me and our people. Besone tiamat kolero seduan.
And I observed Kelty pointing to a spacecraft in the sky.
Brinosa brat.
He reached his right arm across by his stomach, where he drew out a sword and then stuck it hard into the ground, as if he was preparing for battle. Then I noticed 8 wizards being abducted into the Tiamat craft. Or maybe it wasn't wizards. Kelte fell to the ground, and Bartholomew watched the ship turn around and fly off.
They took our prisoners.
What prisoners did you have?
We didn't know where they came from. It is apparent they came from Tiamat. They were hungry, but they couldn't speak. They were strong, but they wouldn't take commands. We had to lock them up for our own safety, and it required strong magic to keep them from breaking out. As long as we fed them, they cooperated with us. We didn't know what else to do with them. I guess they are free now.
Oh, I thought they were wizards. Why did your friends draw a sword and then collapse to the ground?
Oh, he thought he had to go into another battle. We have had our share of protecting this planet. When he saw the prisoners were taken, he was relieved. I suppose I drew you in at this time as a witness and assistance in the event that we needed help. Isn't it true that you are connected to those giants?
Yes, that is true. The giants of Tiamat. But I don't understand how they came into your reality. And then Bartholomew put a piece of wheat in his mouth to chew on.
None of this makes any sense to me either. We would like to have a truce with these people. They seem troubled and potentially hostile.
I'll do my best to help.
Kelte, get everyone ready for a trip. We should be leaving soon. Nixaten telosian broama gatare buma shenk filo. Navan.
Then I saw was a mist and the vision was gone. Then I realized...
Sorry, were you drinking something? Take some time, clear your throat.
You did that awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
Then then all I saw was a mist and the vision was gone. Then I realized that what they said would go through, something about going through a gate in Telos. So it looked like the, wizards were then going to step in through our reality, from a gate through probably, it looks like Telos.
Yeah.
Mount Shasta.
Yeah. Well,
so they're friends with them, I guess.
yeah. And here's the words. Nixaten telosian broama gatare buma shenk filor. Telosian, yes, there's Telosian. And there's Gatare, which might be the gate, going through a gate in Telos. Oh, yeah. Buma Shenk. Hang on, Buma Shenk, Shenk Boom, Shenk. That sounds a bit like Shekinah. Anyway.
Which is what? Shekinah?
Yeah, it's called Shekinah, but it's like Shekinah. It's like something traveling.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, I was looking at and trying to write down what the enunciation was, and it didn't make any sense. And I was trying to figure out why he was speaking another language and Bartholomew wasn't. So Bartholomew must have been in an altered state.
Yeah. Well, you're experiencing some sort of universal translator thing. Drawing being able to understand him.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And you know that I'm wondering if, cause they call this place Druid, which is, almost looks like Druid.
Yeah.
It's Druud.
Yeah. Exactly. And then there's Kelte as well, which is another, like,
So you wonder, because we have the Picts.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if this is some of the early Celts.
Potentially.
The wizards are connected to the early Celts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Because that's very much the Irish legend, is that everybody's like descended really from the Tuatha, and you know, the Druids come through that as well. Lovely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So, where to next?
Well, I think we have Meetis.
Right. So Meetis and then Gary. You want to do Gary last?
Yeah, we can do Gary last.
Okay. Hello, my flower. I wanted to tell you that I have to discuss an issue of great importance. Actually, I'm in dire need of advice regarding a specific matter at hand.
Go on, Meetis. Tell me more. I'm all ears.
Well, I have some visitors who are not supposed to be here. Listen, I'm a bit troubled by this. I have them all in my humble home, hovering by the fire. I'm not sure who they are, but the world would turn upside down if they saw them, and would probably harm them because of fear.
Are they another species, Meetis?
Yes, they are the elven, tall, stately, crisp skin, gingerly hair on some, and their eyes are brighter than a lighthouse. Their ears, clothing are a dead giveaway. They look a bit tattered, but not harmed. It looks like they've been through some sort of war, but they won't tell me about it. They just shake their heads and say, "It will never be, it will never be, never again will this happen to us. We stopped it at the beginning. He's gone, he's gone. He will never live to breathe and speak forth his destructions again." This is all they say, not much more. Then on and on about the clover. I think this is a place, the Cloverland.
When did this all happen, Meetis? When did they all arrive?
Oh, about a few days ago, Monday. Well, it's Thursday now. I don't know how to take all of this in. My life has been spinning. I had to gather food. They love root vegetables and leafy things. They don't fancy much bread. A few times I told them this is all I have. I had some cheese as well. They didn't know what to think of that. They smelled it and passed it around. It was curious to watch them. I gave them some tea, and one got so jittery he began to dance a bit to release the energy. He said he needed to go for a walk. I know they're sneaking out at night while I'm asleep.
How many are there of them?
Around 10 of them. One seems to appear and disappear. He's an odd one. Some sort of magic, I say. He has a fancy hat as well. I would love to wear that just once.
Maybe he'll leave that hat with you.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? But to be honest, I'm burning up with anxious thoughts about what I would tell the local village who they are. I'm afraid they would order a lynching. They are very superstitious these days.
Have you expressed your concerns to them?
Yeah, they just stare at me with the utmost concern, but I don't think I'm getting through to them. I found one of them putting on my jacket and shoes to make himself look like me. I said, "Hold up, that will surely get you spotted in town. The people know my clothing after all. I'm a performer."
So what are you doing now?
I'm at the market and people want me to perform. Oh, I can speak louder now if I'm at the market.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that should have been a time lapse. So, yeah.
Yeah, hang on, quick. Okay, let's bring in the market. There we go. I'm at the market and people want me to perform. I might do so for a bite. I start again. Do you like the sound effect? That's the sound effect.
Yeah. I like the sound effects.
I'm at the market and people want me to perform. I may do so for a barter of food and a few shillings. The energy's high, but I'm worried about my home might get burned down and the villagers would turn sour on me if they knew I had foreigners in here. Foreigners, otherworldly and more like it. I think Rhodan does this to me to cause me great turmoil. Just when I'm enjoying life, something like this happens.
You don't know what this is about, Meetis? Is it a war that affects the Earth?
Yes, I'm not too worried about it now. It happens many more years into the future.
Is it during my time, Meetis?
Let me have a look. Well, yeah, it was supposed to be in your future as well, but it doesn't happen, they said. You're not out of the woods yet, but they helped your people considerably. They're kind folk and warriors if need be. Ah, Meetis, my friend. Okay, it's the wrong way. Aye, Meetis, my friend. I see you have visitors. Where are they from? Everything's a mess. The portals, the time, it's all turned round.
Meetis jumps and is startled by Baylord's presence.
We're in an open market now, Baylord. You're not supposed to be here. Don't you think the people will notice who you are? You can't just pop up in a public market. Aye, it's a bit stuffy around here. They all have their noses turned up to the sky. They're too busy parading around to notice a scruffy one like me. I appear as a vagabond to them. No need to worry. I can help bring you your friends to their proper place. Better yet, let them come and battle with me. Now, Baylord, you would like to take them where? Never, you cannot take them into your worlds. It shouldn't happen. Rhodan would have me locked up on Geb. Well, that might be one way to get out of here. Oh, never mind. Here, me fella, you're asking for grand things from a man who with holes in his pockets. These matters must be handled lightly and correctably. Come sing, squire. Have you no instrument to play? Here, I'll lend you one. The man lifted his lyre. Sorry.
Go ahead. The man lifted his lyre to show him.
Come sit on this stool. We have much bread and drink and a wagon of potatoes. We know you're hungry with all the food you've been eating lately. And the strange one next to you, what instrument does he play? I beat the drum, man. I'm a fine player and can gather a tune for a dance. Give me a strong drink to get me blood running and you'll have me all day if you like. Oh, no, Baylord, we can't be here all day. Very well, let play some bitters for me. You better behave, Baylord. I'm on the edge of destruction with this one. No fancy stuff with odd languages. Don't you worry. They'll be pleased by my talents. I wouldn't mind doing this with you more often. Set out the campfire and play. Baylord, you don't belong here. Please don't mix with the people too much or they will ask you questions. Leave it up to me. Yes, what a final drum that is. Hang on. Here now, people, gather around. I'll tell you a tale while I play. And he picks up the lute. Da-da-da-da-da. Tweedlesy, says the bird, fa-la-la. A ship must sail, the gates reveal a time of travel for you. You come for fun, but now I'm done, and off to parallels with you. Yes, you. Here we go now, tra-la-la. A time of peace for all mankind, but many at war. At this time, what shall I do? Scroll the page. Not too far. Make what I have. Do. Then share my food with strangers too. We have so much, must keep in touch. If only they're gathered and lost so much. You from the future, if you listen hard, you can follow me home. Just don't be too proud. I'm a friendly neighbor, a traveller, not a stranger, know what I mean? Not too devoted to the Queen. Did I say that? Oh, rebel, I did. But what more can I say? She took too much from my kids. Tra-la-la, I'll speak no more. Just letting you know, there's an open door. Just push it through. Do what you do. But if you like the others, you'll scroll more. You are welcome to. Fa-la-la. There's more to be said. We don't have much more in the end. We said, fa la la, leave all to keep. The time is now for the weary to sleep. The time is now.
Awesome.
I have that probably overdrove on the recording. But anyway, there you go. So I was trying to kind of keep up with the rhythm of the drum that he was playing at the beginning. So I don't know if anybody's aware, but halfway through that song, he somehow got rid of But I'm now done and off to parallels you. Meetis looks towards Baylord. Yes, you. That's why, here we go. That's very lightly flicked him away into a parallel. Very good.
Yeah, that was kind of an unlikely group, Meetis, Rhodan, and now Meetis with Baylord. And, when they start to joke and get into each other's worlds, it almost tells me that they're kind of getting things in order and there are less problems. So it was kind of a good sign.
It's always a bit of a challenge, because they got to kind of swap heads, Meetis has got a particular head and Baylord has got a particular head that has and the head gives me the accent, so.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny. Like all that Wurzel gummage. Anyway, so, now, where are we? We're at the top of the hour. Do you want to play your musics and then we come back with a bit of Gary, or should we do the Gary one and then play all the musics and then come back with a guest?
Why don't we come back with the guests? But we'll read Gary right now. So I'll tell you what happened, and we've discussed this whole thing about the bathrobe. So we're going to talk about the bathrobe real quick. And it starts off with a story about, an old boyfriend who would wear this blue bathrobe all the time. And we used to joke about it. And when we broke up, it was a hard breakup, and I ended up talking to this friend, meeting this person who, typically worked with people that, had issues, and they wanted to resolve, particularly in the area of romance. And so I decided to have a conversation with him about it. And, we had a few conversations, and then he says, well, why don't we talk on Skype? And I said, sure. And so, it was really weird how we met and just communicated, and it was, somewhat professional. So, I never told him anything about the blue bathrobe. And, here again, a couple of weeks go by or whatever. So we finally meet. I turn on the video feature in Skype, and there he is sitting there wearing a blue bathrobe. And I was like, no way. I was like, what does this mean, And I said, do you usually dress like this when you talk to people? And he goes, well, sometimes, I was like, all right. And I just didn't know what to do with that. And then something happened where we had a disagreement, and he kind of disappeared too. And then months went by, and I get this weird message from someone. I look, and it's a man that actually looks similar to these other guys, and he's on a boat, like a cruise ship, and he's wearing a blue bathrobe. I don't even know this person. So, you and I had talked about it, right, JP? About this weird blue bathrobe thing.
The blue bathrobe?
Yeah. And then I brought up the whole thing with, it's kind of just a funny synchronicity. And then we talked about, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe, who wears a bathrobe. And then, of course, the dude, who's in, what's that?
The Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski,
yeah.
Right. So, we were just kind of joking about it. And so I had a few friends, we were all talking and kind of went back and forth. And then actually Gary appears and starts making comments. And so I was telling them what Gary was saying. So I don't know if we want maybe just say like first name or something like that, and so no one knows exactly.
If you read the name, I'll read what they say.
Okay.
I'll try not to characterize too much because these are real people.
And we could say like D or N or something like that too. You know,
or the first name, or Devin, Nick.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I said, "Hello, Gary. I remember a conversation we had recently discussing this bathrobe topic. I found it interesting but lacking some reasons behind it all. So tell me, what's the deal with the bathrobe? You know, the weird blue bathrobe thing that kept appearing every now and then. As time has passed, I thought of the bathrobe the man wears in the show Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe and how the whole dudism conversation with the main theme of the Big Lebowski wearing a bathrobe everywhere. So this is an earlier conversation with a group of friends. And so I mentioned to the group the bathrobes, we should all wear bathrobes like the dudism group, right? You know, and just be free, right? Essentially I'm saying be free. And so Devin said,
clothing is a conspiracy. Everyone is forever naked. The bathrobe is a lie.
All right, so then Nick said,
I think the bathrobe is flat.
And Devin said,
that's what batting is for.
And then I said LOL, Gary the Immerther promotes the bathrobe. And then Nick says,
leaving the feet naked.
And then Nick says again,
ugh, feet are so ugly.
And then I said LOL. And then Devin says,
a grey being in a fluffy pink one.
And then Nick says,
sounds like my neighbour's granddad.
And then Devin said,
it's hard to find slippers in my size though.
All right, and so I said, Gary in a pink bathrobe. Oh no, should I tell him or should you? And then I said, what about toe socks, Devin?
Pink is like the love colour, man, like rose quartz. I'm sure Gary might understand. Toe socks with bells.
And then I said, Gary asked Devin, this is Gary now.
Do you think we could have this idea take off amongst the humans? It is rather comfortable to dress this way.
And then Nick said,
sounds like the student lifestyle.
I insist you keep your feet covered.
Personally, I think the technology that keeps bathrobes closed needs an upgrade.
Zippers. That's why we created zippers.
Devin said.
Not for those who live where it is really cold or people with nerve damage who feel cold all the time, but definitely where it's warmer. I'm sure since Keep Portland Weird is the motto here, it's already happened. I like the double-breasted button look over the zippers that get cold.
That's why we have these form-fitting space outfits. They are very flexible, like us.
Just needs matching knee-high fuzzy boots.
You'll see. They put the wrong outfit on the movie. It wasn't originally a bathrobe. It looks more like a gown, but they said it looks like rubbish. This is what we wear. Imbeciles.
Culture clash.
Yep. Then Rolf said,
Well, calm down, Gary.
I get a bit fired up over it. Need to feel the breeze a bit. We're hot-blooded beings. Actually, a bit solar. You will understand later. Very well then. Don't be alarmed if you see me wearing a robe. I refuse to change for anyone.
Devin.
I think anyone who has gone without underwear understands the breeze bit.
Nick.
You need to ask a Scotsman that, Devin.
Off to my engagement. I must leave now. Farewell, humanoids and hybrids.
So, then Gary comes back again, and we have in the conversation.
I suppose that conversation got a bit out of hand. Why do humans struggle so much about their appearance? Doesn't comfort matter?
I agree, why don't we just get over it and wear what we want to wear?
You shall all be free. Free like me. Bye-bye, Earthlings. See you on the other side of time. I'm taking a stroll out into the stars. Oh no! My zipper just broke. I knew I should have bought the stretchy suit. Oh well, bye for now.
So he's commando under the robe.
It was a weird conversation, but truly, that's Gary.
That's funny. So
I mean, I don't think, well, you know, their anatomy is not quite like, I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure, but.
Yeah, maybe we need to
I
ask.
don't know if we should even go there.
Sounds like we just did. Yeah, okay, so, but he needed to feel the breeze on wherever, and they may not be in the same place, you know, they may be elsewhere, you know, we've seen, you know, could be in the armpit.
You notice the poor Scots get pulled into this?
Of course, always. Always. I'll remember you. Anyway.
Okay, so I guess we're gonna go into music. Let me just read off the music for those of you. Sometimes you listen to the YouTube channel and you say, well, what music were you playing there? We have New Order, Blue Monday, Oingo Boingo. It's a dead something.
It's a dead man's party.
Dead Man's Party. Oingo Boingo again, Weird Science.
See you on the other side, folks.
Oh, we're back.
We're back now.
Weird Science.
Weird Science and freaking magic, as they call it.
Well, we have Brian is joining us, but I did find the other transmission. I knew there was one other one, and that happened earlier, and explains the whole thing with the metallic issue that I had. And so this is from Zim from the Birlac of Pluto. And you guys saw me interact with the Birlac before. They said they were negative. Well, I had a positive interaction with them here. So we're going to read this real quick and we're going to get right into a discussion with Brian. It appears that I'm in some kind of ship. It's a deep metallic tone. The space is rounded in a way that curves on the interior. The metallic interior almost has a plum color to it and is unusual lighting. The strange curvature of the spaceship makes me feel like I should be standing flat, but I shouldn't be standing flat, but I am. The room itself has a strange illusion to it. I'm on a spacecraft of the Birlac, the ones from Pluto whom I thought were negative. They seem to be messing with my head because when I step forward, the room changes and it makes me feel unstable and uncertain. One of them is in an armored suit and metallic voice is saying,
Talk. Answer when you're spoken to.
I feel a dull pain in my head, pain in my heart area, and I say, what do you people want?
We are not people. We are not here to charm you with illusion. We're not here to lie to you. We are here to tell you what we are doing. Your voice came to me. I am the commander of this ship. You are our guest. You seem uncomfortable?
I'm not comfortable. I didn't ask to be here. You don't have permission to take me whenever you feel like it.
We took you because you were quite ill, and I have fixed you. You had the sickness that most travelers have but are unaware of it. It is similar to the bends that one gets when one goes too deep in the ocean.
Does this have to do with the metal energy I was feeling that was making me nauseous? It felt like some kind of weird alloy, and when I felt the presence of that metal, I wanted to throw up. I had a horrible headache yesterday, and I don't usually have headaches. At one point, it felt like a knife went through my head.
We know. That's why we did healing on you. I imagine you feel better now. We wanted to make peace with you. We can now see your cause more clearly, and most all the planets within the galactic center are with you, with the exception of Chiron. He has much learning to do. There was talk of having him replaced throughout time. He has never cooperated with the group. Many thought that they were contending with Saturn. He has many false illusions and trickery. None of his abilities are used to assist anyone. At first we thought you were helping him, and then we realized that you were tied to him unnaturally, and he was one of the causes of your illness.
Well, if that's the case, I'd like to be cut free of him.
We can help you do that. Pull away and stretch the unseen thread that is drawn into the back of your head. He and the R-bone have captured you. No. He and the R-bone have captured you this way.
Does this have anything to do with Dionysus?
Very likely, but it appears that Dionysus has disappeared and Chiron stands behind you. When we sever the strand, you'll be set free and we will attack him and disarm him. Then the galactic center will be secured.
When are you going to do that?
You are currently on our ship on Dimension 8, Floor 6, Biosphere 12, and in time place of 0 point within the 43 I thought I was going to do this. Alright, I'll try again. You are currently on our ship on Dimension 8, Floor 6, Biosphere 12, and in time place of 0 point within the 43 sectors of Cogent Celestia. Do recall these coordinates.
They seem vague, but essentially, is this real time in the upper dimensions?
That is correct. We will display a series of 12 symbols. At a specific symbol, you will feel the pull and the thrust, and then the separation.
My left heel is hurting.
It is an arrow that hit you from Chiron as you were speaking to us. He is always within range to harm you, and this will end today.
Well, I appreciate that, Barrelak One, or do you go by another name?
My name is Zim. Let us know when you are ready.
I'm ready. And then I began to see the symbols. One resembled a constantly moving 8. I felt a tug like a rope pulling tightly. Then I saw what looked like a strange pyramid that turned into almost a half star. Swirls within swirls and circles then within circles, and I heard a sound like a string breaking on a guitar. And my head began to hurt. Then I saw a purple mass. It seemed like a 6-sided figure in an opening and another tug, and then I became free. They lifted me right out of the ship into a smaller one with low-lying seats that were white. With exceptional hyperspeed, we took off, and I could feel the pressure. Then they knocked me out into sleep. The only thing I remember is holding onto a deck of cards with symbols on them. Maybe a download of data. Then I heard the background, that Chiron was defeated, and I had a glimpse of a unified council of a galactic representatives meeting all on Chiron.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
So, it was weird.
So there was, so that's what we'd call a chord, isn't it? Was it in a very high dimension that people wouldn't normally see?
Yeah, and I had no idea he was behind me, and I think that's why some people were like, there's a hostility or something there. I was like, it's not coming from me. And if you look at Chiron, first time I looked at it, I was like, whoa, something wrong with that energy. But I had no idea I was tied to him, and a lot of times I think maybe I was even blaming Dionysus for some of the stuff he was doing, that Chiron was doing, because they're kind of similar in their temperament. But the spaceship was really weird. It was kind of contorting, and it was like a deep metal color, but it was sort of plum, purplish, and it had weird lighting, and it was like had such a curve to it that it didn't look like I should be able to stand in there. It was like there was nothing flat to stand on. But they just kind of, maybe I was just trying to adapt to it, and it seems like they helped me. But it's sort of like doing this kind of interdimensional space, you get sort of like the bends. It's an illness that you get, they were saying, and that's that metallic energy. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. I wonder
if there's some sort of mercury fallout. Maybe mercury leaks in these cranky old time machines, and it leaks into the hyperspace thing that as you travel through it, you get infected. Infected by it or something. I don't know.
Or even on Rosen bridges or something, where, however, I just jumped through portals and I don't even know how, it's happening before I even have any say over it. So I don't know how.
Dirty little Glockers.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I have Chiron tagging along everywhere. That's not good.
That's not good
Well,
at
hell,
all.
it's probably been going on for a long time.
So Chiron is Chiron the little asteroid planet,
Yeah.
and the wounded healer fellow.
Yeah, he's sort of like a horse man thing, and he's got this really strange relationship with Achilles. And you look it up, and there's this young boy Achilles there with him, and his father kind of sent him there.
Seems he's got a habit of shooting arrows at heels.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. That is interesting.
Now, what does Zim look like?
Zim was wearing like a galactic metal uniform. I mean, sort of like a Star Wars like uniform, hiding. I believe a lot of the Star Wars that hold the white armor stormtroopers. I've seen them in Pluto before. So I mean, there is a truth behind the story of Star Wars, and the writers, the original writer of it, he was even asked, "Where did you get this information?" And I interviewed one of the filmmakers a while back on this show, and this before I was doing the transmissions, and he said that, when they talked to him privately, they knew he knew something. So there was definitely an inspiration. And I told him, I said, I saw those stormtroopers before, and it seems like they came from Pluto. And he didn't remark, but he kind of smiled, and laughed, like, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. So maybe these are connected to the Bureau, are connected to the stormtroopers. Maybe they're one and the same. Maybe they're a completely different group. I'm not sure. But they sort of was wearing a metal armor, not white. But very much like that kind of outfit. I couldn't see what they looked like underneath.
Did they appear menacing, or was it just efficient?
Well, my first interaction with them seemed like they were on the other side, but like they said that, well, when they saw Chiron behind me, then I realized that I was in allegiance with them, and Chiron has been contrary to everyone, I guess, in the galaxy. So similar to Dionysus, kind of, a contrary attitude, and they'll have to figure out what to do with him. But, just at least not have him in such power. But I did see that they end up having like a galactic council there on Chiron instead of him just, being menacing. So, but they originally I thought they were going to be a problem, and then they actually on their own decided to come in and help me. And they did some work, some healing work on me. So I feel much better than yesterday.
Well, thank you very much, Zim.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, good birthday present.
Yeah.
So, shall we bring in Brian?
Yes.
I will hit the button. I say call now. He will call in a few seconds, and we'll be joined by Mr. Brian Sundome. Do you want to give him a quick introduction of how you connect with him?
I heard Brian's music. He has some really cool, funky music, and seems to be very galactically connected in his creativity. And he and Melinda have a very lighthearted galactic attitude as well. And Melinda has an affinity for Meetis, and she sent me this very, very colorful looking salad that she made. That looks like she called it the salad. So you can see if is that you, Brian? Are you here with us?
Me and Melinda.
Hello.
Hi guys.
Hello there.
How
How are you doing?
Doing good. Hi Jessica. Hi JP.
Hi.
Hello, Melinda.
Hi.
So we have Brian and Melinda, and they're here to share some. We were just talking about how you were wearing your bathrobe in the picture today.
Right now.
You were very good. And then we talked about this whole thing with Gary and the synchronicity and the dude. And
yeah.
So I thought, Brian, aside from being, a really creative individual, and both of you are very creative, and love that Meetis salad that you made, Melinda, and your wonderful music, Brian. And it's just all fun, and I appreciate you guys. And every now and then we see something really nice on Facebook that you guys are doing, and really, really talented, wonderful work. If you want to give your website or a link for people to listen to your music, why don't you do that now, and you can go on.
I'll have Melinda type it into the chat if that's cool. But it's basically it's just my name. If anybody searches a Google search on my name, it's Brian Sundholm, Brian Sundholm, Sundholm, and that'll pull up free download stuff in a few places.
And very galactic sounding music, really cool stuff. And you have this one video that I love, with it's like a perspective of the world. And
you mean are you talking about David Young's video, or which one were you speaking of?
I don't know if it was David Young's, but it was almost like this cosmic view of the Earth.
Oh, okay. We played that one before, but a friend of mine added some video to it, and let's see if I can remember. I think that was the one I did with John G., who's from Seattle, Washington, and I believe it's called Hopi Chill, Hopichill.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of a surprise, and it's neat, when you get people around, like meeting you guys on the internet and stuff, and different people. It's like a global friendship community. It's like sometimes I consider people I meet on the internet as good or better friends than people I know sometimes. So you find more commonality with larger audience.
Yeah, I think that's what it is you get sort of, you start connecting more to like the soul group and people that are on, the kind of, are like-minded, like you said. And, so we started this conversation about, Dudism. And I thought maybe you might want to share and how this, kind of began for you and then what happened. I think, whether you want to talk about what you did,
Well, I'm so Dudism, I still haven't finished the movie. I was actually trying to finish it today, but it's Dudism is it seems like a spoof at first. I mean, when you first look at it, you crack up laughing. It's like this guy runs around in a bathrobe and drinks White Russians, vodka and Kahlua. And what's interesting about the movie, I mean, I watched every clip I could find on YouTube, and then I end up, finally renting the movie. But it's like the guy keeps his cool, through everything. I mean, he's going through some of the most crazy, stressful situations. He's got absolutely nutty friends, and it's like he never really loses his cool. I mean, he gets a little upset sometimes, but he's just like, hey, man, take it easy. It's not about freaking out. That doesn't going to help anything. And so I kind of, the more I look into this, the more I realize I'm kind of already, into Dudism without having known about it.
Yeah.
and with Melinda and stuff. It's like, wow, this is really weird, and cool,
So you stumbled on the video and the gentleman that started Dudism. I think he's in Thailand right now, and he.
Yeah, he calls himself the Doobly Lama, and he saw the Big Lebowski, the movie, and he'd been kind of like a world traveler and looking for some kind of religion that seemed to fit, but he couldn't really find anything. And then he had this epiphany while he was watching the movie with his buddies. He's like, oh my God, I got to start Dudism. This is it. And the guy started this, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, and he's got like 350,000 followers that are, that are Dudist priests. Now, you go to his website, dudism.com, and, he doesn't want money or anything. He's just like, hey, if you want to be into this, you just got to say, hey, I promise to be cool, and, you be easy and take it easy, and, take life as it comes instead of trying to force it. And that's it. You're actually an ordained reverend priest or whatever at that point. It's kind of funny because you look at it and you think this has got to be a joke, but really the people that are in it kind of start to take it more seriously, like, not a religion per se, but a practice of life, like modern.
It's beyond religion, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Beyond religion.
That's why I was attracted to it.
That's why it's good, because it's sort of like, you understand your existence and you understand your connection to the universe, and it's a way to, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle of being free and liberated about who you are. I mean, that was what I was getting out of it. I mean, and it's funny because he walks around in a beige bathrobe.
Yeah.
With the synchronicity of everything I was talking about earlier is sort of this casual way of living. And someone could say, well, I went back to school and my son was like 8 months old. I wanted to finish my degree. And I remember going in the classes and the kids from the dorms, would come in with their slippers on and just, relax and leaning back in the chairs. And so, people look at it that way, but I mean, it's liberating, isn't it?
Yeah. When I think people get too caught up with their preconceptions on things instead of, living from their heart and doing what they want to do and being relaxed and life in the universe, in my opinion, kind of, it's not Buddhism, it's just me, but it runs better and everything falls into place in synchronicities when you allow things to be what they are and you just kind of go along with what's happening and respond to it in the moment, I think everything seems to work better and flow smoothly that way. So that's my take.
Yeah, I was a stress ball before you, Brian.
So Melinda, tell me what, how this has resonated with you or what your ideas are.
Well, I was charmed to pieces because the first thing Brian did was take me out for some Kahlua and vodka and at the store, and, I thought that was really sweet, A girl's got to like that, being wined and dined in her bathrobe. I did not get ordained, but Brian had a lot of insight on the movie too. I was like, why do you let him walk off with the carpet? And he explained, he said, you see, rich people, they respect it when you get one over on them. And I thought, really? I was like, how do you know this stuff, Brian? So, right.
A little more information comes out, right, in these conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to watch this stuff unfold. I mean, I remember we were, I think it was on Facebook, we were back and forth a couple times, and you were telling me about Gary in the robe, and I thought, God, that's weird. Melinda runs around in a blue bathrobe all the time. And then the more I look into it, it's like I keep seeing all these synchronicities, and I'm just like, okay, there must be something to this,
I like to get up in the morning and feed birds, and I don't bother to I'm still in my robe, so.
Yeah.
And it's warm. I mean, the robe is warm, so.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, it's just.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, that was me.
JP has a bathrobe he wore once.
I was just going to say, that's what I do in the morning. I wear my bathrobe and I go over and I open the doors to the chickens and I go, walk back on. So it's a thing, isn't it?
Hey, we love birds.
Yes, it is. And if the hummingbird feeder's empty, I can't sleep. I gotta,
it drives her nuts. She's got to run down and mix up some food for the hummingbirds. The poor birds are starving,
They'll come to the window.
Yeah, they just did it at the beginning of the show, by the way. We had hummingbirds and mockingbird, which we haven't seen in some time, show up at the window right at the start.
I'm friends with the mockingbird. His name is Sir Chirps-a-Lot.
Anyway.
I'm sure it feeds into the musical stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, JP?
No, but yes, indeed. Playing birdsong. If you play birdsong on a musical instrument, it comes out like Mozart.
That's what Eep is all about. Eep.
It's about finding each other at the supermarket.
Oh, that too. Yeah, if you're at two ends of a different store and you can't find each other, you just eat real loud and you know where the other one's at. Good look. People turn around, look at you all startled, like, what was that?
Oh, that's great. So I saw that you were, you had a song there that was, you thought represented some of your, lifestyle and your thinking these days. What was the name of the song? Was,
you talking about
Take It Easy by the Eagles.
Yeah, Birds.
Birds.
Mm-hmm.
That song, I used to run around with my dad in the car, and I drove him nuts playing the Eagles' greatest hits song. And I love that song since I was a wee little kid. And anyway, that's kind of like the dudism theme thing, is Take It Easy, man. And so I thought, hey, that's a perfect theme song. So, yeah.
So do you want to play that now?
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, we could. You're back, and I said to JP earlier that wouldn't it be cool if we did an event and everyone showed up with a bathrobe? Everyone, people driving by, I was like, what the heck's going on here? I guarantee you people would be walking in from the street saying, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Either that or they'd be wanting to lock us all up. One or the other. It depends on where you're at. Lots of fun. So let's see. We have about 10 more minutes, and just say whatever you want to say. I mean, this is, how do we define ourselves in our society? I mean, the society's filled with all sorts of restrictions, rules, guidelines. You can and cannot, how you're supposed to dress, what this means, how your clothing represents you. People make their first impression. I mean, all of this emphasis is put on, the way we dress. I mean, sometimes I totally hippie out, I have all these colors and people I don't even know if that matches, but but it's one of those things where who really cares? I mean, this is my expression. I want to do it. You want to call, and then you have to define yourself as an artist. Why do you have to define yourself as anything? You can just.
I totally agree with that. It's
right?
Be yourself. Yeah, just be yourself and enjoy it and celebrate it.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Ever since the eclipse in May 20th, 2012. Brian Gate hooked me up with all this camera equipment to film it, and I didn't really get that great of footage. Brian got better, but I started taking pictures like crazy, and I started to see these eyeballs everywhere, and I was like, okay, this isn't good, and so it kind of drove me nuts. But it took me years to find a happy balance to not be just freaked out all the time. But it kind of gave me a different perspective, because I always had a captive audience, and it kind of helped me loosen up a bit after I finally, started to figure out what was going on. I kind of did. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with that.
What the heck is the eyeballs?
Yeah, what are all the eyeballs? I mean, it's hard to even describe to anybody, and anyone that I do describe what I'm seeing to, they're usually like, hey, you're scaring me. We can't talk about this anymore. And I was like, great, okay, I'll just have to research that. So I found that I'm just going to enjoy all the attention and, audience captivity, and kind of roll with it, and all the eye rolling there.
Let's roll, dude.
Let's roll.
So, shout out to, I don't know if I should do this on the radio or not, but Lisa and Renee, she was just reading an article last night about the AI, basically using the eyeballs to siphon off energy and send it straight off to Orion and whatnot. And then you guys end up talking about it on the show and the AI thing, and I was just like, AI eyeballs.
I know. I'm just like, what's Rhodan going to do? I mean, what's that going to look like?
Yeah, I saw him just disintegrate those things. I mean, they just turn into particles. It was kind of cool. And when he did it, I literally, honest to God, I had this weird, surge come through and it just stopped everything that I was doing on the computer. And then it was right at that point, right before he said infinitum, and boom, it happened. And I was like, well, I don't know if that was a complete synchronicity as I was watching it, but it may have been like a little confirmation that it happened. So I don't know. It was kind of a cool thing, and I hope he takes out all of the AI in the universe. And
that's very interesting, Jessica, because that would seem to suggest that infinitum is a particle now instead of a.
Trippy.
Yeah. I didn't hear that last part of it. Can you say that again, Melinda?
Oh, yes. It would seem to suggest that infinitum is a particle instead of a waveform now.
Like broken apart the wave.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because AI is a broadcast.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is, yep. Wow, you were meant to be here to say that.
So if I see any infinitum particles around, I'm going to use my
dust mop.
There you go. Clean it up. Time to clean up all the particulates that need to be disposed of. And I mean, there's so much going on. It's just really, really exciting that things are moving in another direction, and the fact that they're allowing us to have a little bit of fun is also nice too, because you won't get weighed down with this stuff. It can get pretty heady, and honestly, there are times when I'm doing these transmissions, I just I could cry my eyes out. It's horrible, some of the stuff that I see, and then when they kind of lift my spirits a bit when I think Gary has come in, Meetis, they kind of bring some levity and help us to kind of keep a balance while things are processing. So
it looks sometimes, but all things work for greater good. It's a catalyst to bring about good things and bring people and things together. And I know what you mean, though. It's sometimes your house can burn to the ground and you lose all your stuff, and then you find you didn't lose all your stuff, and then you find out, hey, this worked out better. So
yeah, and then you find Ventura burned down.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
But
the whole thing, all that California stuff. But I had an incident where I had a very kind friend help me out. I took a trip and my luggage got lost. I didn't have anything, and he had a shop, and he says, just help, just get what you need. And I was like, wow, what a blessing that was. And so sometimes things turn out, and then I did get my luggage afterwards, but it was like the whole trip I would have been without the clothing that I needed, and so it's wonderful because things do happen for a reason. They kind of all work together, and some of our
students get all heck crazy. Yeah. You just kind of roll with it and look for the benefit, and then you almost kind of steer the benefit that way.
Go buy a bathrobe.
I got a few of them, so I'm all geared up. I just have to get one of those stretchy suits that that Gary's talking about without the zippers. I don't know, JP, zippers or no zippers?
Well, if you have zippers, what they were complaining about is that when they get cold, you touch the zipper, there's a piece of metal in the cold, and it gets really cold. So that's why you have a nice bit of wall between you and the zippers.
Or just do the stretchy suit, right? The rope or the stretchy suit.
Maybe Velcro doesn't get cold as much.
Gee, I don't know. They both have teeth.
But the deal with we did the actual conversation with Gary earlier. Someone said, well, the bathrobe just you have to have a better technology because the tie doesn't always work. The tie becomes undone a lot. And that's where the zipper idea came in. Gary says, just, get a zipper.
You'd have to hang out at the geothermal pools in Iceland if you're going to do that.
Okay.
They can invent it.
I'll do that. I'll go to Iceland again.
Listen, guys, we got to go. I've got to go over to Revolution Radio A, where I'll be playing that show about gaming. So, thanks very much, Jess.
All right. Thank you very much. And I'll go listen to the show. JP sounds like it's interesting. Great to have you on, Brian, Melinda. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Love you all. See you next week.